Tonight's topic is you want to step away from working behind the chair. Now what? This is something that is widely asked, yet rarely discussed. It's not something that's really discussed around the industry, and I'm speaking in an assumption form, but I've been around different aspects. It's not so much about how many years necessarily, but I've been in different conversations. I've been in manufacturer circles. I've been in styling circles. I've been in education circles. I've been in ownership circles. And it's just something that people are asking in one-on-one conversations, but it's not something that's widely talked about. Certainly not anything that we talk about in the school system of cosmetology school. It's not something that's often, it may be, but it's not often on the roster of educational classes at events. Yet people want to talk about this. Now, what I believe is the reason why folk don't talk about this is for four main reasons. One reason is people are fearful. People are scared. One of the reasons why this topic comes up is because people are afraid of the afterlife, seemingly. Like, what happens after this is done? When we're so excited to get involved with styling or certainly owning and things like that, it's exciting. But we quickly understand at year 5, at year 10, if you're blessed to last that long in this industry, that you start to understand, like, this isn't something that you can do forever. That there truly is going to be an afterlife. There's going to be something more, and people are kind of fearful because that's not in the curriculum at our schools. That's not something that's shared. Any manufacturer education is designed to just do that. It's designed for us to get product. They're not necessarily committed to our afterlife. As a matter of fact, another reason why is anxiety. I want to talk about it, but I don't want to look anxiety really and shame. You know what I mean? People are kind of shameful. Like, I don't have a plan. Most of our, friends and relatives that somebody would say is in a real job. I say that with tongue in cheek, very sarcastic. The job has a setup for you. They have a 401k. They have a retirement setup, right? They have your setup for you. There's insurance policies and things of that nature, so people don't have to think about that in the military, government, state job. But in this instance, for small business and ownership, there's not really a plan necessarily. We have to have our own plan, right? And the last thing is just confusion. Like, we don't really know what to do and how to do it, but this comes out of our body. I want to get away from the chair. Ray, how do I walk away from the chair? How do I leave the chair? And how can I generate money without working behind the chair? Something that is really glorified right now, and this is not a knock on the company at all, but the terminology has been beaten in our minds. It is a running hashtag that says behind the chair. And I am under, and I want you to start thinking already. I don't want it to necessarily spark anger or anything, but I do want you to stay woke, right? And kind of think about how businesses, and we're going to talk about them. I'm going to try to get through this information, guys. It is burning on my mind, and I'm excited to share. But businesses are really banking on, and their bottom line and finances bank on you and I staying behind the chair, right? There's so many different industries that are layered on top of the groundwork of the cosmetology industry, which is the beauty professional behind the chair. Now, we are not all that the industry is, but we are the groundwork of the foundation, but there are layered businesses. And like any other building or business, a lot of times as you go up and up in the building, you'll find that there's more money right above us, yet everybody is banking on the behind the chair concept. So it is glorified. It is exploited, quite frankly. It is assumed that that's where you and I will stay. Now, I stand with you today and talk to you and say that I'm a former hairstylist behind the chair. I am a former salon owner for 10 years. I am a hairstylist for 2 decades. I was a former barber, and I have no intention on ever going back behind the chair. I'm not shaken in that decision. It is a final one. I am excited about my future. I have been excited about my career post me being behind the chair. And I realize that this is going to be an hour-long discussion tonight, but this could easily be a conference. I'm excited to even begin the hashtag leave the chair. Leave the chair. I'm excited to really begin that hashtag. There's not a lot of conversation about leaving the chair. I think it's only 4 posts. Yet there's a million posts in behind the chair. I want you to think about that. I want you to consider that. Now, what I want to do is compare this, guys, quickly to an athlete. I play sports coming up. Many of you guys may have played sports or connected to sports. I went to school with somebody that went to the NBA. He went to the NBA and he stayed in the NBA after we were high school seniors. He played for my high school team. We had a all-state basketball team. We won a state. And then he went on for college for 1 year. And then he went in the NBA. Now, the lifespan of an NBA player, guys, is about 15 years. And that's how long he stayed in the league. So you think about it. He was a veteran. He was an old guy. He was a retired basketball player at 35. LeBron is considered an old veteran player, and he's 34. Dwayne Wade is finalizing his final year in the NBA, and he's 35, 36. In the realm of the world, that is a baby. That is extremely young. A football player, NFL football player, has even less time, about 10 years, right, that they are going to be in the NFL because of what it does to your body as an NFL player. So they're only going to be in the league about 10 years. So if you go in at 22, at 32, 33, you're out of there. You're done. Your body can't take any more pounding and bruising 300-pound players going 20 miles an hour at one another with a helmet on. Why am I saying this? Is because I do believe that what we do in the beauty industry is very similar to an athlete, and that you're going to spend more time, guys. Right now, people are thinking, people are looking and listening intently, because this is something that people think about, but nobody's talking about. You're going to spend more time outside of the chair, outside of the salon, than you would behind it. Guys, I believe that you've got about 20 years before your body begins to kind of talk to you and say, how long are we going to do this? Like how long are you going to get up at the crack of dawn and stay to 1, 2, 12 at night? Like, how long are you going to do this? I know this was cute when you did it when you were 19, Ray. But and when you were 25, it was cool. And when you turned 30, that was cool. And when you were 35, I started to let you know with arm and ankle and swelling and injury and weight loss. When I started talking to you at 35, but now you're 39. Like, I can't do this any longer. It's been a full 20 years since you've been standing on this mat. You've got issues with your knees. You've got issues with your legs. And if your body doesn't say anything to you, then your relationships will say something to you. Your relationships with your family will get challenged. Many people don't talk about that. Many people sacrifice having children. Many people sacrifice relationships. Many people sacrifice marriages. Many people sacrifice time with family. Many beauty professionals do not go on consistent vacation, if any. So eventually your lifestyle will say, how long are you going to do this? Like, how long are you going to be a part of this world, right? If your health doesn't say anything, if your family doesn't say anything, right, then your age will just simply say, like, yo, this is not really what you're interested in any longer. Like, you love this industry, but you're not really interested in trying to deal with a client or having to deal with staff. Like, this is not where your interests are. What you were interested in, Ray, at 19, you just absolutely are not interested in those same things at 39. If those 3 things don't grab you guys, then the next thing that will do it is this industry. The industry is at such a revolutionary change right now, with salon suites and digital marketing and branding and digital money and traveling stylists and mobile stylists, and schools are shutting down all over the country, and online bloggers and content and education, and everything is collapsing. And the industry is saying, like, how long are you going to do this? And what will begin to happen is, because of the 126 calls that I did last year, guys, so many people, it was on their topic. I ask people generally when I do the coaching calls, what are 3 things you want to talk about? And guys, undoubtedly, people said, yo, I need to have a plan to work from behind the chair. Now, what happens with that is, what does that look like? What does that look like? And the question that I throw back at the individual is 2 questions. Well, one basic question. Do you plan on still being in the industry, or do you plan on leaving the industry? Now, here's where it gets interesting. A very small fraction of people said I wanted to leave the industry. Not only did they not say I didn't want to leave the industry, they quickly said, no. I still want to be in the beauty industry. I just don't want to be behind the chair. And then I said, well, what's your plan? And what I realized is not very many people had a plan. And I realized today being important to go over this topic is because I was once 3.5 years ago, behind the chair. And now I am no longer. So I'm not speaking from what I think. I'm talking to you from a firsthand account of going through the steps of actually removing myself from behind the chair. I still am in the beauty industry, but I'm no longer working in a salon. I'm thankful to have people that allow me to use their space, to be creative, to content create, but I do not take any clients at all. Any of the models that you've ever seen on the Tribe membership, they don't pay me to be models. I don't take clients at all. So I left over 100 personal clients. As a business, there was hundreds of clients. We had our client load in the thousands if you deal with all of the emails that we had in our Schedulicity Rolodex. So the entire city was really blessed with hundreds of clients walking around after a salon had been in business, knocking down 120, 130 clients a week for 10 years. So I actually can speak from firsthand account. So what does that look like? You're going to continue. Remember, you're only 20 years in. So if you do this, if you get into this industry in your early 20s, teenager, you're still very, very young. I closed my salon, walked away from the chair at 39. That's still extremely young. People are living to 100 years old. So that is a fraction of your life. What are you going to do, Ray? People talk about the six-figure stylist, right? People talk about making that kind of money. And what happens is people are trying to figure out, well, how can I make that money? How can I make that kind of money, but I don't want to be behind the chair? And what happens a lot of time is people think they can walk away, but they wind up being right back in the chair. They wind up doing hair on the side. They wind up still creating a space. And that's not bad. It's not awful. It's just, I want to maybe talk about some areas that you can get in that don't require you to go from behind the chair. Before I get to the areas, guys, I want to talk about my personal emotions that I had to deal with. Guys, right at about 2015, I knew that I had ran my course as a salon owner. Many people talk about me closing my business and shutting down, but in actuality, when people say, Ray, I heard you closed up, my answer to them is, nah, I opened up. I think that my business seemingly closed, but it opened me wide open. And I don't believe that I went out of business. As a matter of fact, my last day in business, there was a comma in the sales and I wasn't even behind the chair. We were making money hand over fist. But what I do believe is I completed my mission. That alone, that line is going to free somebody up tremendously tonight. It's okay to complete that part of your business. You are not failing to make the decision to transition into another phase of this industry or another industry altogether. Let's just put that out there. It's okay to go into nursing, to go into real estate, to go into a totally different business. But even if you want to stay inside of the beauty industry, you're not failing if you close your salon. People close businesses, shift businesses, change careers every single day. And as I've been from behind the chair and out of a brick and mortar business, I'm in so many different circles where people shift and turn and transition their businesses 4 and 5 times. And I'm learning that. But in our industry, it's almost looked like you failed if you close the business down. I never felt that. People would put that on me. People would look at me as if that was happening. But in my mind, I completed it. If you know anything about my business that was in Columbus, Georgia, there was nothing that we had not done. We had done photos, videos, events. We had thrown parties. We had a fashion show that was the biggest to ever hit the city. Nobody has matched it. We've done branding. We had a YouTube channel. We had anything you could think of, we did it. Apparel, we did it all. The only thing I did not do in my business was suite ownership, but I had booth rental, I had hourly workers, and I had a commission business for 5 years. So I did it. I don't feel, there is a loss, but I don't feel a loss like I lost. Now here's the thing that I had to deal with, and this is what you maybe have to deal with. 4 emotions. 4. First thing, I had to deal with my identity being attached to being behind the chair. Many of us, it's not that we're worried so much about the money that's not going to be there, because I'm going to show you that there's tons of money opportunities in this beauty industry, that everybody around us is making money. It is the limelight and the popularity, and that our identity is wrapped up being Ray the hairstylist. To this day, I go to the gas station, I go to an event, I go out of town. People saw me as that for so much of my life that some people can't live. You've seen it. You see it in celebrity. You see it with rappers. You see it with singers. You see it with athletes. Like, they don't have another identity unless they're Ray the athlete, Ray the singer. And in our industry, it's a very similar psychological stressor that you're like, yo, I'm going to have to think of, I'm not going to be the hairstylist anymore. When people ask me what I am, I don't say that I'm an active hairstylist. I don't say that I'm a salon owner for the last 3 years. Somebody said, well, what do you tell people you are? My name is Raymond Torregano, and I have created an education and consulting business that helps small business. In particular, I came from the beauty background to strengthen their brand, strengthen their business, and lead a healthy lifestyle. So you don't do hair? I do not. What about your salon? It actually closed in 2015. So you never going back to the chair? Absolutely not. I have no intention on going back. Wow, but you did it for so long. I did, but now I'm doing something different. I don't stutter. I don't stammer. Some of my crew is on here that are out there listening to this, and they know I don't blink, and I'm excited about that future. So the first thing, but I had to get to that point. Initially, it was hard to really think about that because it was my identity. It was who I was, and I had to deal with that kind of dying, or that funeral. The second funeral was I had to really wrap my mind around my clients, which that is another thing that's holding a lot of people up from even making this decision and pulling the trigger, because they are a slave really to the clientele. Now the clients, they move around, they go to different salons, they cut their hair, they get braids, they try something different, they have midlife crisis and go bald, shave their hair bald, but we believe that I can't be off, I can't be sick, I can't have vacation, I can't have an emergency, and I certainly can't quit. You know, just recently there was this picture and video going around about a 90-plus-year-old hairstylist. And a lot of people were excited about that. They reposted that, and it was lovely to see. I have no intention on being a 90-year-old anything and working. That's not normal. That's even, I understand how people can glorify it, but I want us to question why. Maybe it was because of the love. Maybe it was because that's what she wanted to do. It may be because I didn't feel like the clients had anywhere else to go. It may be because I don't have any other financial way to do this, but it could have been just because of the love. I don't love working, period, that much to be doing this, period, past 55 years old. If you think about what you need to be doing in your life, retirement in the American culture is 65, 66 years old. So it was a lovely story, but I want us to really think differently and maybe a different direction. So I had to think about my clients. I had to sit them down. I had to talk to Naomi. I had to talk to Nikita. I had to look Sean in her eye. I had to look Sharon in her eye. Watch this. I had to look my wife in her eye. I had to look my mother-in-law in her eyes. I had to look at my mama, my very first client, in her eye and say, Ma, I don't have a salon. I still get some pushback from my wife who says, like this morning, I did her hair in this chair in my office. There is not a salon for her to go to. And guys, I just want to sidebar and put that out there. Clients do want a salon, guys. Clients may like your suite, but I want you to do a real analysis and make sure that they don't miss an open concept salon, because that's one of the main things. I'm still doing her hair the exact same way, but it's the experience that she no longer has because I don't have that building at 4818 Miller Road any longer. So that was deep. A lot of tears. A lot of tears. And listen, everybody wasn't happy about the decision. Some people rooted me on and said, go get them, Ray. We want you to be successful. But many, many people have not spoken to me since I made that decision. They walked out of the salon angry, mad, and did not want to go to anybody else and have not talked to me. And some don't even answer my calls. That's a part of it. That's going to happen. Somebody has to say it. And I'm going to say it tonight. It's not going to be an easy decision. It may not be pretty, and there may be casualties if you want to walk away from a 10-year salon ownership, 20-year career. Let me put it in perspective. Sean Tucker was one of my longest running clients. I did her hair 3 years before her wedding. Then I did her hair for her wedding in 2003, and I also did her hair for her 10-year anniversary party. I want you to put that in perspective, how long of a relationship I had with some of these clients, and I had to come to them and say, I'm no longer going to be a hairstylist at all. You're going to have to find somewhere else to go. It was extremely hard. It was a tough funeral to happen. There was a lot of tears. I remember the day, September 22nd, 2015, where I took my absolute 16, excuse me, I took my absolute last client. It was hard. I sat in that salon and I cried. I did. I had cried a bunch of tears as a grown man because it is a hard thing to do. What was the third thing I had to do? I had to sit my current staff down at the time. I had a commission business and I had 4 people in October, scaled that down to 2 people, hired 2 more people in the spring, and eventually it was already in me by the summer to make the decision. So it was 3 of us in a salon, which is the average number of people, right, in the salon around the country. I sat them down on September the 25th, 2015. I looked them in their eye. I printed out 92 pictures of things that we had done and accomplishments we had had, like being a salon of the year, like partying in Orlando, like going out of town, like doing photo shoots, like doing competitions. We printed it all out. We had a big bottle of margarita mix from Jose Cuervo. We got our hair tight and we just cried. Our last day, we talked and we loved on each other and we said, man, we had a hell of a run. You guys are going to be amazing. Go out and be great. Use everything that I taught you. Don't change the formula. Get out there and go. But I've got to go do something different. And that was it. We did that for about 3 to 4 hours. It was an emotional wreck. It changed everybody's life that was in that room that day. We still talk about it to this day. Everybody remembers the date. They remember what they had on. It was that kind of situation. So if you're going to have to go there, in order to do it upright, you can't just put a note on people's counter. You got to look them in the eye and say, I love you, but I've got to go do something different and you guys can be free. Right? That was hard. The last thing was the most difficult. And I didn't know that it would be. It was actually leaving a building that I had found myself in, that I had grew in, that I had to live in for a year because I was homeless, that I hid my engagement ring to my wife in for months because I didn't want her to see it at my house or her house, that I learned how to brand, that I started my YouTube channel, that I understood photography, that I understood how to train people, that I fired people, that I hired people, that I laughed in, that I cried in, that I met so many wonderful people, that I had the pleasure and the honor of employing 33 people over a 10-year span. Because I didn't own the building and I knew that I was going to outgrow it at the very least, I did not own it. I had to give that building back. Exactly 10 years from opening up the building in 2006. On November the 26th, 2016, I passed my keys over to Mary McBride, or Mary Carney, my landlord and real estate agent at the time. And when I gave her the keys, she cried because she saw me grow up. She saw me sign the lease at 27 years old, and I'm giving it back to her at 39 years old. And she said, you're going to do great, but I don't know what I'm going to do to find a tenant like you. But when I had to write that love letter, and you can go back on my page, guys, and you can see where my very first post now on Instagram was me writing a love letter to the building. Now, some people may think that that's weird and that's crazy, and why would you do that to a building? But if you've never had a business, if you've never grown a business for 10 years, 10 winters, 10 Christmases, 10 summers, 10 daylight savings time, 33 clients, you have no idea how tough that was. I tried to write that post online, and I was at my sister-in-law's house, guys, and I was bawling, crying, and I couldn't get myself together. My little nephew said, Uncle Ray, are you okay? And I said, man, I don't know. I don't know how I feel right now because I don't know what's going to happen. Why am I telling you my experience? Because if you think you're going to be able to do this, without feeling, don't even try it. Go through the emotions. I regret nothing, and definitely how I did it. It was hard. I did not want anything to fall back on. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something new. So then, as I was pulling off, and I uploaded my last piece of furniture, which I gave to my brother, and we put it in the U-Haul. He was the last person to walk out the doors, and we spick and span the floors, right? We repainted the walls, right? And he said, "Man, are you okay?" And I said, "I don't know." I drove by the building, guys, for months, like it was an old girlfriend or my old wife, just looking at it, knowing that I couldn't get in the building. It was tough, but I got through it. And then it was, okay, what was life going to look like after this? Now, here are some areas that I have done in part or in totality that operate with the hashtag leave the chair. Like, not some of these people view as a side hustle, but I have a podcast on the Raymond in Your Ear podcast. I also speak about it, guys, on the Tribe membership, right? And I encourage you guys to share it with people. If you're a Tribe member, share it with other people. The collection of education on that platform is bar none in the industry right now, bar none, over 2 years worth of education. But I share about, many of us are calling it a side hustle when it has all the power to be a front hustle. It's not something that you can do on the side. It's something that you can do totally. But many of us, because of our identity and our first love, or that's what we think we can do, or not wanting to try something different, will not allow the side hustle to ever flesh out to be a front hustle. What is a common transitional space and place once you leave the chair? Well, education is something that most people talk about and get involved in. Now, I would challenge you that for years, education looked like going back to a cosmetology school when many of them are closing up, are not valid, are losing their accreditation, because the need for a cosmetology school in the next 5 to 10 years, I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it. We could be at an instance where the cosmetology school could be very much like very much like a Blockbuster. It may not be needed. So the idea of going back to a cosmetology school to accredit you to be an educator in a space where I'm educating you right now, where somebody's educating on YouTube right now, you don't necessarily need to be accredited by a cosmetology association or a board or a state board. So today in education would be in the form of content creating, or if you worked for a company. Most of the companies that we have out there, if they are professional products, professional line, just know that you will be kind of niche. You will be in an instance where you'll be talking just to professionals. If you pay attention, most of the lines that have come out post 2010, right, up until today, have skipped over the hairstylist and going straight to the consumer, straight to Target, straight to the website, straight to Neiman Marcus, straight to Macy's, straight over the counter. It does not stop with the hairdresser any longer, because the hairdresser was the gateway to get the clients, but now the gateway to get the clients is the internet. So they don't need a licensed hairstylist necessarily. And even companies that do have a professional product, they still want influencers in the beauty industry that operate less on their license and more about their influence, branding, digital presence in the industry. So an educator today, you're going to have to get involved with the digital space. You're going to have to create content out there to show people what you're working with. You cannot just wake up and say I'm an educator and wonder why nobody's coming to your class, why 10 tickets aren't sold, why 100 tickets are not sold. You know, what does it mean to be an educator? Are you doing it to push a line? Are you doing it to push an idea? Are you working for a school when most schools are going out of business? Or do you just believe that you know how to do something very well? Well, you have to get involved with sampling it, like instances like this. I'm not getting paid for this particular this video necessarily, right? This is giving to you on this platform in hopes for you to understand how valuable I am as an educator. So education is one form, but it's not the only form. There is also people that leave the chair and begin to be speakers, meaning they're not really educating with their hands to train on hairstyling. They're just there to talk to maybe people in the beauty industry or the consumer, to talk about hair care, to talk about running a business, to talk about leadership, to talk about training, to talk about setting up a business, to talk about the finances in a business, to talk about marketing, branding in a business, which I believe is separate from an educator in one regard because you get paid to be a speaker. In many instances, a motivational speaker. So a lot of people go that lane, but it's not the only lane. Another place that you can go, or a place that you can kind of settle in, is in the product lane. Many of you guys out there have your own product, a physical 5-piece, 6-piece, 7-piece line. There are tons of people inside of the tribe that have their own product line. But what I don't see often enough are people that were once hairstylists that do the product line full time. There is still an attachment to the chair. And most of the $1 million, we just saw a company out of New Orleans, the Crayon Case, that is a makeup line, a full 30-piece makeup line that was created by somebody that does not have a cosmetology license. Yet she is a makeup artist, guys, and she is giving this out to supposed amateur makeup artists, but I don't know what amateur or professional means anymore. If the consumer believes that you know what you're talking about, that's all that matters. And she made, not only is the company $1 million in profit, we saw, the whole world saw, that in an hour and a half, less than 2 hours, they made $1 million in one day. So the idea to make the kind of money, possibly way more than you could even make with your hands behind the chair, is in the product. Yet most people that create a product that were once behind the chair cannot leave the chair to push the product full time. Something that you can put in a box and ship to all 50 states and over 200 countries around the world. Because there's somehow this fear that it won't be able to supplant or replace the lifestyle that we were in, which I would even challenge how many people actually even know how much money they're making behind the chair in profit, not in gross, but in net. So if you understood what you made in net, it's almost laughable to think that you could not replace that with a full product line. Some of you guys have beautiful branded products. I encourage you to consider that is your leave the chair option, to have your own product line. You could also be a brand ambassador full time with residual income that comes in on a monthly basis from a company, because your influence in the industry, online, in your community of people that buy the product, be it stylists or clients, right? You can influence people to buy a huge number of product, let's say from ABC Shampoo Company, ABC Hair Care Company, 123 Makeup Company, and because of your influence, there are many, many people that are on a, what you would call a retainer, meaning they're getting $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month because of their referral. And there are people that not only can make what they were making in their full-time jobs, they can make sometimes what they were making in their full-time job in a year, they can make that in a month easily. Because now you're not limited to how many people you can style in a day. You're limited to a 6 billion population. You're limited to nothing. Because now your distributor is UPS. Your distributor is FedEx. And now the digital distributor is the internet, and you can share this to thousands and thousands of people. Now, that's not standing behind the chair with the limelight on you and everybody saying you the man, Ray. That's not walking up in the salon and heating it up in the morning and cooling it up in the morning when it's in the summer. But it is certainly a replacement for what. Now, in order to be a brand ambassador, you have to service the people that company wants to be their target audience. You can't just wake up and be a brand ambassador. You can't just wake up with a product line and it's going to magically go. You're going to have to do a new kind of work, guys. You're going to have to put in a different kind of grind. But what happens is when it starts to get difficult with the product, when it starts to get challenging as the brand ambassador, when it starts to get challenging and the education thing doesn't work, people quit. And they go back to what they think is easier, which is working behind the chair. But we are seeing dozens and hundreds of people that are winning as education. So many people are making money and replacing their income when they're not behind the chair as a speaker. So many people are product manufacturers. So many people are brand ambassadors. You could even be somebody that's on an R&D team, that you're on the research and development team for a product line, for a tool company. You mean make a product? No. You mean become a brand ambassador? No. I mean you sit on the board. that talks about what ingredients go in, how does it need to feel, what needs to happen. There are people that were former hairstylists, if they position themselves correctly. I've done it. I've been that. I was on an R&D team for a company, right, 4 years. I worked in the education department. I worked in the marketing. I worked in the content creating for a product company, $1 million company, and I got paid just to talk about what we needed. Why does it need to be trimethicone, dimethicone? How does it need to feel? People get paid for that to give their expertise to a company of chemists that don't necessarily know what the stylist or the client needs. What if you actually took your expertise from the chair, and when you leave the chair, hashtag leave the chair, and you create an application, right? We see companies like ShearShare, we see companies like Squire, we see companies like Pacino's application, we see companies like Glam Squat, we see companies like Style Seat, we see companies that are creating product, a tool, a digital tool that is in the beauty industry, yet they are not behind the chair. They no longer work behind the chair. And in many instances, it's not even hairstylists or barbers at the top. It's no knock. I'm just saying, when are hairdressers and barbers going to say, I can create that? I know how to do that. Well, I'm not a programmer. None of them are programmers. They had an idea. They got investment. They pitched it to people, and they created many applications that you are using right now, that you and I can create. I have worked close quarters with a couple. Now, in this instance, it was a former barber, right? That's what makes, the company so awesome, which is ShearShare, right? It was a former barber. And it also is somebody that worked in tech, right? This couple, and then they got with people to create this application. Now, this application now allows him to no longer work behind the chair. Here is another instance. But some people right now are saying, well, that's not for me. I mean, I don't know anything about tech, and I don't know anything about products, so I'm going to stay behind the chair. No problem, but I'm giving you options for you to consider. What's another option? When is a hairstylist or a barber going to consider the real estate option that happens in this industry? So many people are benefiting on top of the core or the base of this industry, which is the behind the chair hairdresser. I think you all are going to look differently every time you hear that term, behind the chair, right? And again, I'm not knocking the company, because we were using that terminology since the dawn of the century. They just coined it and made it a company. But the verbiage and the psychological kind of push is to say, stay there behind the chair. When is a hairstylist or a barber going to think, yo, I'm going to get real estate, I'm going to get land, and I'm going to create salon suites? And I don't need to be in one of the stations. I can create my own 30-unit salon suite. I can create salons, period. I know what they need to look like. I know they need plumbing. I know they need electricity voltage on a certain level. I know what they need. I just spoke to a mentee of mine, right? Then talked to her, and she was like, yo, I'm really looking at such and such because I think that would be a great opportunity for a co-working space or for a salon space. I'm like, yo, that's where we need to be thinking. We know exactly what it needs to look like. We know exactly what it needs to feel like. We know how long it needs to be. How wide it needs to be, what the depth needs to be. We know everything about it, yet somehow we are not stuck, but we are conditioned to believe it's only about being behind a chair. Meanwhile, the people that are benefiting have no intention of getting behind the chair, yet they bank on you and I not thinking, and they don't have a license. They don't have a degree half the time. They just see a need for real estate. Somebody say, well, I don't want to get into real estate. Well, what about something that's happening right now? There are people that are benefiting from designing salons. You mean like real estate, right? No, I mean contracting salons, because there is a very specific contract that needs to go into a barbershop, that needs to go into a salon. So there are people that are now building an entire business on contracting and decoring and staging salons so that you can walk right in it. And actually, I wish that I would have had that when I designed my salon, because I went off of my own taste. And when I look back on it, there's so many things that could have been differently, right? And I wish I could have brought somebody in and I would have paid them any amount of money in hindsight to actually set things up how I needed. Guys, you could go, people don't even have to really push. People don't even have to market, because every salon needs design. Every salon needs contracting. Every salon needs flooring and wall and plugging. And you can make a business just off the lighting. Just off of fluorescent lighting in a salon. I know, because somebody came in and made money off of me to change my lights from warm to cool lighting in my salon. They don't even have to really promote. They can just walk in every salon, because we're not thinking about it a lot of times. And people can build an entire business, guys, off of lighting, flooring, painting, design, graphic design, websites, logo design, cape design. All of these things, people just say, well, I don't have to really work. The hairdresser is already telling me what they are, and I'll just set it up for them. Somebody say, well, what about education? Well, you can go from being an educator to actually having education. When you look at Paul Mitchell or you look at Vidal Sassoon, that's exactly what the Torregano tribe is. I'm not an educator. I have established a new education. That's different. This is a new way of thinking. This is a new way to approach. This topic alone is not something that I've heard about. Somebody say, I'm an educator for a company. I'm not an educator for a company. I have an educational online streaming academy. No different than you walk up in Vidal Sassoon, who's no longer living, but his company lives on. When you walk in Paul Mitchell, the school, who's no longer living, but his company lives on. So Torregano education, or the Torregano tribe, membership is an education opportunity, meaning I don't need even a license, really. I do not need to be behind the chair to establish an entirely new education in the industry. Ray, are you an educator? I never say that I'm an educator. I have education. That's totally different. That's totally different. I'm not a translator. I created a new language. That's different. That's very different. Somebody say, well, Ray, that's it now. Not even close. There's so many other instances. What about you now are from behind the chair, you leave the chair, and now your entire career from 39 on, from 40 on, is to create events like the Natural Hair Industry Convention, where these people were actually former hairstylists. One is still an active hairstylist, but this is something that happens every year. You can make in one event what people make in a year's salary in one day. You can do more than one event a year, like the one that's in Atlanta twice a year. They're not hairstylists. They never work from behind the chair. They benefited from a group of people that needed hair care, and now they create an educational platform. The one that's in Orlando, the one that's in Premier in Birmingham, they're not hairstylists. They are people that say, well, they're not creating it, so now we'll create these shows that hairstylists will walk into that work behind the chair. Yet the people that create that platform, they're working right now for an August show. They're working right now for the show in New Orleans. They're working around the clock for the show in Birmingham. It's an all year long thing. That's their full-time job. They are away or have left the chair. That's something that you can do. You can create that. You can leave the chair. Here's another thing. There are people that are making significant income, and I'm being hesitant as I talk about this because I have my feelings about this, with repost pages that are now leveraging and using all of the talent, all of the hard work, all of the blood, sweat, and tears of the hairstylist to post their pictures, their intellectual property, on a repost page, and their background is in marketing. Their background is in journalism. Their background is in computer programming. And now, but they say, well, everybody is trying to create their own page, and everybody is trying to compete, and everybody is trying to one-up one another and don't want to work together in the same freaking town, in the same neighborhood. Everybody is battle, 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 battle. We'll make a community page, and then we'll say things like, I don't own any of the rights to these pictures. I don't own any of this content. But once they build up a following of 10,000, of 20,000, of 50,000, now something happens. The hairdresser feels the need to almost beg and hashtag, please take my picture that I took my time to make this photo of this hairstylist. Please take my intellectual property and post it on your page, because maybe I can get famous from your page and you're not even a hairdresser, when damn it, I can create the same page. When is a hairstylist going to create a repost page and get away from the independent thinking and think like a team concept and put everybody on to monetize that site? And once you get so many people looking at this site, so many clients looking at this page, now you can leverage the eyes that are looking at this when 1 million people are following, when 300,000 people are following, and now you can leverage it to brands, and you can tell this company that's selling this soda, or you can talk to this company that has these shears, or this marker, or this pen, or this notebook, or this phone, and say, listen, I've got all of these people looking at this page, and they're your demographic. They're black women from 20 to 50. Don't you want to market on this page? So now somebody doesn't even have to create content, because the core and base of this industry will just give their IP away, give their power away to somebody who doesn't really even glorify the hairdresser. They're glorifying the eyes and the attention and the style of the hairstylist. Let me put something on your mind. World culture is moved by American culture. American culture is moved and gets its origin from black culture or urban culture. Yes, I said it. And who are the major players and major style influencers in any community? Asian, Latin, black, white, anybody. Most of the people that even create style are in the salons or in the barbershops. We are the plug. We are the plug, right? We are actually creating this, yet we don't own it. We don't own it, and we stick behind the chair when I'm up to at least 11 different ways that you could leverage what you do naturally. Who knows how to brand better than a hairstylist? Who knows how to formulate product better than a hairstylist? Who knows how to design a photo or photography better than a hairstylist? Who knows how to create shows and events and makeup and design and fashion? And who knows how to do that more than you and I? Who is killing it on social media? Who understands technology more than us? Most of you guys have a camera. Most of you guys understand and have all kind of connections. We connected to all of the DJs in town. We're connected to all of the club owners in town. Yet we've got to use that. But the first thing we got to do is open up our eyes and say, wait a second. Behind the chair is amazing, but it's not the only way. It's not the only way. So now we have education, brand ambassador. What about tools? You mean be an educator for a tool company? No. Create your own tools. Go to Alibaba.com right now. Get with a tool company right now. You have enough following, enough pull, and enough know-how to walk up to an engineer and say, I want a new kind of shear. I want a new kind of clipper. I want something brand new when it comes to the curling iron. I want a whole different concept when it comes to the blow dryer. I'm going to create it, and this is now my full-time job. Not something I do on the side, but this is something that I actually do full-time away from the chair, because I'm no longer behind the chair. I have my own tool. I have my own piece of equipment. What about you create a new chair? What if you create a new mat? What if you create a new software to book people? There's so many different things that you are utilizing. Some of you guys are in your salon right now. Look around. Look around at opportunity that would put you to leave the chair, away from the chair. Speaking, products. Somebody say, well, what about if I want to keep my salon? Well, that's the obvious choice. To actually raise up a team, to actually give birth to children in your business that can now take care of you. Most families have their children as their retirement plan. When the heavens bless me with children, you better believe I will drill in my children. You are going to take care of me. You are going to do something. I'm going to put your little butt through school. I'm going to give you an opportunity with a business. And now I'm going to sit up at 60 and 70 years old, and you're going to take care of me. You're going to drive me around. That's how it works. But we can't get there with a booth rent model, guys. We can't get there with an independent thinking model. Guys, we can't get there. That's one of the main things that drives people crazy is they know everybody's independent. Everybody's an independent contractor. Everybody is separate. So if I stop working, all I'm going to have is the booth rent that will cover the rent. But I actually need profit to come out of the business. Well, the only way to create profit, guys, is to actually give birth to stylists, to give birth to a team, to train a team at leadership, to train and put somebody at the front desk, to put assistants inside of the salon, to train a 1, 2, 3, 4, 10-person styling team, maybe get a franchise. We've seen it with companies like Dry Bar. She's not behind the chair. She worked one day in the initial Dry Bar that opened up in 2010. Now there are 100 franchise branches later, and they're about to open up an entirely new franchise that is the exact same model, 40 minutes, $40, in and out, except instead of blowout, it's massage. And the name of that business is Squeeze. Do you think that Allie Webb is actually going to go and do a massage? No. She is away from the chair. She has left the chair. You and I, now she's a former hairstylist. You can do that. I can do that. Damn. So it's... People are coming in the industry and now they're like, yo, we don't even really need the hairstylists anymore as far as product. We needed them in 2002. We needed them in 1995, but now we don't really even need them. We can skip over the hairstylists totally and drop this right into the store. Drop this right into Sally's. Matter of fact, we don't even need a store. We can sell it right from the .com. We can sell it in a box once a month. We can sell it in something that's a subscription-based company for hair products once a month that comes to your customer and mine. And the head of those companies, shout out to them. They are amazing. I learned from them. Guys, they are not hairstylists. Yet, a hairstylist got to think about this. But one of the main things that's blocking any of this thought is on top of the industry saying stay behind the chair, it's also saying separate. Don't work together. Don't hold hands. Backbite. Fight. Compete. Compare. Be separate. Leave. Break away. Start your own. Do my own thing. Be my own boss. And now, if we're not careful, there are people in the education space, the speaking space, the product space, the manufacturer space, the real estate space, the tool space, the R&D space, the event planner space, the tech app space, the consulting space, even opening up a school. And they're all looking down on the arguing, bitter, and won't hold hands. And they're sitting there like, yo, if they ever work together, we would not have a job. I hate when I hear hairdressers say negative things about YouTubers, mainly because I'm a YouTuber. I was one of a handful of YouTubers that were actually active hairdressers in a salon. But I hate, but hairdressers love to say things like, well, they in our industry. They need to get our industry. They ain't got no license. They not legit. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that we did not, because we were behind the chair, we did not look up in 2008 and say, wait a second. The consumer has a way to listen to what I'm saying anywhere in the world through this website called YouTube. I need to get on here. I need to get on here now, but we didn't. As a matter of fact, when I was on in 2009, I was getting hate mail. I was getting people talking about me. You giving the game away. You need to keep that behind the chair. You don't need to be sharing that. And now, undoubtedly, everybody is trying to ask me. And people like other people that have YouTube channels, they're asking them, well, how do I get a YouTube channel? And what we're saying is, yo, you should have been on. You should have been online, because now people have came in and monopolized, guys, and made money. So now my time is running out, but I want you to consider attack one of these areas, start an education platform, get into speaking, create a product line full-time, get into mentoring and developing up your salon, guys. Get into the real estate game and actually become a real estate developer for salon professionals, be it suite or full-on salons. Create a co-working salon space. There's an idea. Take that and run with it, guys. Create a new tool. Become a brand ambassador. Create your own event that happens once a year, twice a year, 4 times a year, once a month. It could be a brunch, but it could also be at a convention center. It could be a look and learn and a vision party. It could also be at a damn coliseum, right? Think bigger and think wider because everybody else is. It could be in the research. It could be opening up a school. It could be developing a new software. Guys, it could be in designing salons, but you have got to think differently. Why? Because it's too much opportunity. Nothing wrong with the chair. I love it. But you can have life before and after it. So for those of you guys that are considering it, listen, I love the industry. I love it. But I had my time behind the chair and I value it, and it gave me all of the tools that I needed to now operate away from the chair.